All right, let's do part 2 of talking about hobbies and RPGs. You know, it used to be when I first started playing back in 1981 that you didn't tell a lot of people you were a gamer because you were thought of as an instant dork, social retard, that there was something wrong with you. I mean, the worst thing, of course, is you were a devil worshiper, that you played a game that had demons and devils in it, and that somehow you actually all these things were things you could worship, which I guess some of them are real. They're based off of real believed entities, but for the most part, no. It is a game construct. And they make some of the great ultimate baddies in the game. But it just wasn't something you really talked about a lot with people. You had your gamer friends, and every now and again you might add somebody new, and it was probably 98% dudes. You might have a woman gamer once in a while. Our group never had a female gamer. We had girlfriends show up to play, and of course, when you're on the outside looking in, you're like, what is this crazy crap that you people are doing? You're making up stuff about this character. You're talking about things. You're doing things, and then you're rolling these weird dice. And then this guy with a screen or no screen is telling you what happened. And on the, outside, it looks pretty crazy. One of my brothers was trying to grasp it. Now, he was pretty drunk and high at the time, and he couldn't wrap his mind around the, oh, you just make stuff up? Well, yes and no. I mean, you got a structure to it. You got an outline to it. It's just not pulling out of your hat whatever you want. But it's hard until you actually play for a while to get to feel like, oh, here's the story, here's where it's going, here's what we're doing. Kind of like picking a book up blind, having no idea what the cover is, and starting to read it. It's going to take you a few chapters to get an idea of what type of book am I reading. And here's the real killer for books and for games. If it's boring in the first few chapters, it's dead. You will put it down. Same thing with a game. If a game is boring, you ain't going to play it anymore. I mean, really? Who wants to play a game that is boring? Who wants to read a book that is boring? I mean, the only advantage to a boring book is it might be educational and you might learn something. But for the most part, no, you don't want boring in your life. There's enough boring. And you're choosing something to try to avoid boredom, and now you've got more of it. But the games are a lot of fun. For myself, here's the seismic shift. In 2001, when Peter Jackson came out with Lord of the Rings, I think that suddenly made being a dork awesome. Pretty cool. Fantasy was mainstream, and all of a sudden, and maybe it happened beforehand, I just wasn't aware of it, there were a lot more awareness of women gamers, especially RPG. And really when you get to the table, you just want to play the game. You don't want lonely gamers hitting on you. Again, this is women. You just want to play the game, play your characters. So I've played mixed groups now since the 2000s. I played all female groups, which is interesting. And there's always still really the predominant all male group. In RPGs, I don't want any romance at my table. No sex. I ain't gonna role play it. You might meet Prince Charming or Princess Wonderful and marry her, but it ain't gonna be I ain't gonna role play her dialogue or anything like that. My rated R-ness in games is from violence, bloodshed. There will be plenty of violence, because that's the other thing. Dying is dramatic. If your character just steamrolls through everything, boring. There's got to be some risk of danger in the game to make it real. And your character dying has to be a real possibility. If it's not, you're just playing I don't know what you're playing. You're playing a goofy game. And Dragonquest was brutal. We had a book of death back in the 80s of all the characters that got ground up. You'd spend, half an hour making a character, and one combat they were dead. And it was a very brutal system. And I don't play it anymore because it's too clunky. Combat takes way too long. I do the Cypher system now, and I'm very happy with that. maybe more on this later. Anyway, here's video number 2. Goodbye.